couple of minutes ago around the fact that some teams haven't done a lot in this division because there's a sense that they're taking what the fans' view is that this division is there for the winning. And you look at the Buccaneers, and I look at the players in which they've lost, and Whitehead has gone to the Jets from the defense. Sean Murphy-Bunting has gone to the Titans. Donovan Smith, left tackle, has gone to the Chiefs. A few other players, Keanu Neal, like they've lost quite a few players, the Bucs. And then you look at what the acquisitions were in free agency, and they didn't have a lot of cap space because of Brady retiring and obviously the enormity of what that did for the cap situation. And I recall when me and Colin were doing a kind of a free agency preview podcast, and the news was breaking over the course of 24 hours that it looked like Baker Mayfield was going to be signed and he would have an open competition with Kyle Trask. And I was a little bit surprised and bemused by that, bearing in mind what we saw from Baker Mayfield towards the end of his time in Carolina, which we just spoke about. Like, is it a situation, like, I don't want to use the word tanking, and I certainly don't think the Bucs would ever consider tanking, but like, it just doesn't stack up for me. The amount of players that have left, they haven't done enough to replace them, and yet they look like they're going to run it back for potentially with Baker Mayfield as the quarterback.
Yeah, and it's a good or what looks like a good QB class for next year's draft as well. So it doesn't take much to get people's suspicions aroused, and given, as you say, the relative lack of moves in the offseason. Even in this division, like it's kind of hard to see, as unpredictable as it might be, that the Bucs are possibly gonna come out on top. I think they've kind of run out of road there. I think it looks like it's going to be one of those lost seasons. They do have a couple of players back from injury that will help, particularly in terms of the offensive line. They were banged up quite a bit last year, and that's something that we haven't necessarily jumped to first, but it was a factor. What do you get out of Baker though at this stage? I mean, you tend to get on the Baker roller coaster, an initial impact that makes you almost want to forget everything that you've seen. And look, let's give this guy his flowers. He won a playoff game with the Cleveland Browns. There are people who will go to the Hall of Fame with fewer achievements on their list, or achievements that are of less stature than that. It's not to be sniffed at. Hasn't always, to be fair to him, had the greatest situations to be dropped into either. But unfortunately, this is not exactly the soft seat either.
Colin, Leonard Fournette leaves, Cameron Bright leaves. I mean, the list is endless, the amount of players that have walked away. We did a number of various different podcasts with Bucs, both the Bucs fan groups and podcast recently with one of the beat writers. They believe it's an open competition for the quarterback. Do you see it in that same manner? Do you think it's just what we want, what we're led to believe, but ultimately it will come down to being Baker as the quarterback?
It probably is an open competition, but it's similar to the open competition that the Denver Broncos had in the summer of 2017 when they had Paxton Lynch going against Trevor Siemian. So good luck to whoever wins it. And I want to take you back to pre-Brady Bucs, right? Because Tom Brady has broken brains in relation to the Patriots and sustained success. He's also broken people's brains in relation to the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are an organization who were a shambles prior to Thomas Brady arriving there, right? Between 2010 and 2019, they had 5 head coaches, 7 last place finishes in the NFC South, and not a single solitary playoff appearance. They were a joke. The Glazers were widely regarded as the worst owners in the league, a league that contained Dan Schneider at that time. So Tom Brady came in and he changed everything. So this could well be a return to mean. Like, we've seen this, sometimes you get generational QBs. I touched on it when we were recording last week as well. Like, the Bengals were kind of notorious for not spending money, but Burrow has come in and has changed that. So I don't know if you're a newish Bucs fan, take a look back at the recent history. It wasn't great. I remember at the time, you can check it out, December 2019 in the Today Times, there was a piece bidding farewell to the Bucs decade of decay, and it truly went through in great detail how terrible it had been. Brady arrived, he changed it all, and but Brady is gone, and there's not a whole lot there to fill you with confidence other than, as we've said repeatedly, the rest of the division isn't great. But this feels, very much as if the like I'm trying to think. Perhaps ultimately, you're talking about think of bands that maybe lost their lead singer, and ultimately tried to continue going on, and it just never really worked. In excess, probably the one who come to mind most readily on that. It's never the same, and I expect, as we sit here right now, I may well be wrong, and Brian, you're generally good for a gut feeling on this, but my feeling is they are in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes.
Devin White asked for a trade. Obviously, they've denied that. You've got the Shaq Barrett unfortunate family tragedy recently. He lost his daughter. There's so many storylines within this organization. It's just hard to see how they're going to be really competitive next year. As I close this one out, I haven't asked you to do this in any of the other divisions, but I am, because this one is a wide open. I'm going to ask you for what you believe to be your right now, who you'd put up as your pick to win the division. I'll start. I'm going to go with the Panthers. I think they brought enough players in there to support a new quarterback, and with a head coach such as Frank Reich, I think they will step up and be in a position to win the division, which they nearly did last year, but obviously unfortunate circumstance at the end when he lost to the Bucs. Colin, we'll go to you next. Who would you go for at this stage?
As we're sitting here right now in June, and this may well change, but I'm going to go Falcons. I like what they have done on defense, and I think they made some nice moves. And the quarterback is the big X factor. But I like the other weapons that they have, and if Ridder can be even competent, I think they could do enough to win the division. That might mean they exit the playoffs at the first round that they enter, but I like what they do. But ask me again in August.
After the few years of Falcons fans have had, I think they'll take a wild card loss. Connor?
Yeah, I'm going Dirty Birds as well. I think they're the one team in the division that you don't have to squint too hard at to actually see them getting to the top and finishing the season with a winning record. It would be nice for this division to send a team to the playoffs that has a winning record as well. Would be a good stamp on the NFC South.
Let's see if that's still the case come August when we're making our season picks. That is our NFC South recap. That is our NFC conference recap. Join us next time for when we kick off our review of the AFC.